Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today is another prompt for our Botanical Beauties and the flower is Crocus. I'm sure you've already read that in the title, but anyway, I like the anticipation and the drum roll. So Crocus, this one is my selection. Now he's a bit of a cutie. I had him growing up on the farm. I had also planted some in my last property. But unfortunately they were around where Pepper and Bandit would, let's say, dance through the flower bed, and they sort of started disappearing. So I'm thinking that they were sort of outturned from the soil and shriveled up and disappeared. So unfortunately I lost my crocus in my Brisbane property, but when I was a kid they were in a front garden bed. Being a bulb, they were great because you plant them and then every spring up pops these random flowers through your garden. I love, love, love bulbs, and I've got them everywhere. Recently, I've just transferred my hippeastrums that my mum had in pots into my garden, so they'll be ready to pop up in summer and spring. And these guys are definitely on my list that as soon as I see the bulbs, probably at Bunnings, I think I got my last lot years and years and years ago, I'm going to grab a packet and poke a few in my garden because I just love plants that you forget are there and then up they come. And it's just like something new has turned up in the garden. So I'm a bit of a fan of hiding things in the garden like that. The other flower that Mum used to have with her crocus were snowdrops, and also there was a little, I think they were called jonquils. They weren't daffodils. We could never get a big daffodil up unless it was in a pot and really cared for. But jonquils would pop up everywhere as well too. They were super cool. But anyway, August is crocus. Now the ones I had in Brisbane were white. The white flowers. These ones are closed. So I'll need to do something that's open, I'm thinking, because that's a little bit boring. So I hopped on the phone this morning just to get my little brain around the old crocus. I thought that they were a little bit rain orientated, but it's not. It must be a different plant. I'm thinking that every time it rains they come up. It's not these guys. So I'm not, I don't know, I have to look into that, what that little plant was. I see them through the parks around Hervey Bay that as soon as there's a good downpour of rain, up they come. We used to call them rain flowers as a kid, but I always thought it was the crocus. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, let me know. So I've typed into Mr. Google crocus and all these little purple flowers come up, which I didn't know existed. I always thought they were white. So there's hundreds of species. They're perennials. They grow from a corm, C-O-R-M. Low-lying little plant. Flowers come from stems from under the ground. Well, that's obvious. White, yellow, orange or purple is their dominant colour. And when I was looking at the image, because I've only got closed-in crocuses, look at these little guys. So I'm really loving that. So we've got these three yellow little, probably, they won't be these plants, they all have all these great names. These orange guys here, I'm going to say that they're the stamens, and I bet there's a fancy name for those. I should have looked that up before I started the video, but I didn't. Look, there's a little bit of darkness in there. So, yeah, definitely three by three. Look at the swirl in the leaves. It's really obvious in these little guys. So there they are. There's the white ones. So if you're thinking of doing white, it's just yellow, yellow, yellow all the way through. The leaves are quite fine. See how they pop up in the grass? Oh, they're just the cutest little flowers. I'm going to have to go and see if I can find some bulbs. There's some yellows. Look at that. Oh, look. I can buy those. $14.95. And I get a bag of them. Are they in Australia? No. Or maybe. So there's a Holland windmill there. So, oh, yeah, there's the little bulb. Oh, look at that. There she is. And they're tiny. Okay. Well, you know what I'll be doing? Look at them in a paddock of crocus. Oh, they are just the cutest little flowers. Whether I get cold enough, like bulbs are going to be touch and go here because it's so tropical. So they only grow 3 to 5 inches, well drained, acidic clay, loamy soil, sandy soil. Well, that's like everything, isn't it? That's good. I think these have got potential for me. Full sun to part shade, that's great. So that gives me lots of options. 50 of them for $24.95. Right, you know what I'll be doing after the video? I've just got to find out if we can get them in Australia at a website. I'm sure we can, I just haven't had time. Drawing crocus, okay, that's what we need to know. Etsy, no, we don't want to go there. We can figure that out ourselves. But, you know, it is an option. If you want to make it absolutely perfect, you can certainly buy images from other designers on Etsy that can get your flower shape for you. Alrighty, crocus, where were we popping you? I think you were going in over here, if I remember rightly. So I photocopied the image from our book. Now the book, as you well know, is this one. It's just an absolute treasure of flowers. Only one image in here of crocus. That's why I was like, went and Googled, because, you know, my memory is that they open, so that's good. We know what the bulb looks like. We now know what the flower looks like. The other book that I've been calling on to help me understand shapes and forms is this watercolour book, but it's not in there, so we have to use Mr. Google when it comes to the flower. So let's, and this is our bulb, well, not really our first bulb, because the tulip is a bulb. But, so I'm looking forward to exploring the bulb side of things. Now let's get her nestled here. So someone commented in the last video, if they're not comfortable sketching, what's another option to get it onto your fabric or your project? Well, the most famous, I guess, is using a light box. If you had this mat was a box that illuminated, you could put that there. There'd be a light underneath, and then it would show through. And then it's just a case of tracing. If you don't have access to a light box, you can use a pane of glass like your window, and you would pretend this is the window. You'd put some sticky tape on there, and you'd hold your fabric up, maybe a bit of tape, and you should be able to see it if there's a good light source behind. Another way, which I'm sure you've seen me do in the past when I want to maintain a form, is cut this little guy out. Let's do that. Something a bit different. Let's trim this little guy out. Just this fellow. And I'm cutting inside the lines down that side because I don't want to lose the form of it, as in the size. And then when my black pen goes around the outside of this template, calling it a template now, I'm pretty close to what I'm actually looking at. This is another way of doing it. I don't mind this technique when I have an animal and I just want to make sure, let's say it's a rabbit leaning up doing something, like there's a certain pose that has attracted you to an image. Well, this is a really good way of making sure you get the legs in the right spot, the paws, the tilt of the chin. That can be really hard to reproduce. Well, I find it is. unless you do trace it, of course, or this technique. So if you're somewhere where you don't get a nice sunny window, this would be plan B. So let's get that into position. I might try and keep it a little bit upright. And I think I might bring this guy out a bit so that I have a little room in here for some flowers. So that, just sitting there, gives me a shape. There's a funny little kink there I wanted to capture. So I've got my iron at the ready. So if I make a boo-boo, my pen, we can iron it away. So for those newbies out there, the brand is Friction. There it is. Frixion. Pilot is the brand. So there's our little shape. So that's a really cheats way of getting as close as you can to the shape. You could go further and cut it down further, but that's usually enough to sort of get you on your way. There's a few little shapes in there. When it comes to sketching this in with the black pen, I'll have to take note of all of this business here because that's pretty distinctive. And then down we come. We'll see where that ends up at some point. Okay. Now, I think we better get a flower in position before we get too carried away. So I just want to bring up Mr. Google again. And we need an image that we can draw. Oh, look at this, how to draw. Oh, that's a good start. Look at this. Oh. Okay, I better make sure that that's not something you've got to buy. No, it's just a hello, here we are, artsy children's reference. Okay, all right, so they've got a real soft edge to them. So it's nearly a heart. A heart. Heart. No, where's my iron? So down. Okay, then they've popped in this petal coming up like so with a little seam there. And there's this other petal coming up that side with a little seam. Well, I call it a seam, but it's like the edge of the petal. So then we've got a rounded petal coming in there. That looks too big and bulky, but anyway, we'll let it go for now because theirs does too. Another little petal there. They're supposed to be the same height, probably. Maybe this guy's not going tall enough. That's why he looked a little odd. So give that a go there. What else have they got? Some little, oh yeah, that's those three little thingamajiggers. They haven't made them as pronounced as I want to. That's it. Then they bought, so there's our stem from that guy. He'll probably end up disappearing. Then they bought a leaf through here. Yes, that feels like a crocus to me. One through there. Then they tucked another leaf in because they're like a clump. Now, I hope that's all on camera. Yep, there you go. Gosh, didn't that make it that easy? So, can we do it again? Got to have a few crocus. So let's apply the same principle. We might do just some leaves over there, but maybe, okay, let's get another one. We had a heart. Makes it easy when they break it down like this, doesn't it? And then we had the little side petals. And another one, which is going to have to tuck in, or do we go over the everything green behind it? Let's go over it. So I'll just get rid of that. I want to cloudy my view. Right. Then we've got this curved guy that come through here. I know he looks the same as the other one, and nature isn't like that, but hey, my crocus are all identical. There we go. And then the three little stamens. Beautiful. Now I think I need to move him. He's just not. And the other thing is, how do I get the bulb in now? Didn't think of that. I might bring that up a little bit. Can I get the bulb sitting down here, nestled in? And we show it on that guy. No. I now know why they did the shape of it like that. I think I can still get it in, but I need to come way down here and get this shape happening. It's a bit of a leafy, scaly looking. Oh my goodness, now my nose is set off. Must be crocus flowers setting it off. Maybe I can draw a bud out here to try and get this swooshy feel that I want. Let's use our little template. That's good. So we've got this little bud coming out the side here. See if we can save this image. Just downscale him a little bit. Okay, we've got our flower. I think this guy just needs to be heading in this direction. So if we've got our little bulb, was I saying bud? Bulb, which is erupting. We need a flower going that way. That's what we need. And then potentially catches this guy that was up here. Let's reinstate him. Maybe we do two bulbs out here. Just bear with me, guys, as we try and get the anatomy of this little fellow going. Maybe I sort of want this flower to be more upright. So if that's, well, that must be these two. So let's do our heart here and see if we can work this in. He could come from behind. He doesn't have to come from the bulb, does he? It's not exactly a true study of the plant when we can't even have it coming out of the bulb. Okay, we've got to have the little guy coming up this way. That's it. Now let's get this heart happening. Petal there. Petal there. So that line doesn't go through him. He's come up out of the ground at an odd angle and now he's straightening himself up to the light. Does that make sense? Oh my goodness. If this starts to look a little bit odd, we can just iron it out and start again. There's a petal and petal. I don't mind that. It's got a nice little bit of movement to him. Gee, I'm glad I found that how to draw a crocus image, because that certainly has helped me get this a little bit truer form. Okay, so we've got two flowers. This bud, he just seems a long way out. Might make more sense if I can get a second bud coming out here, I think. Can always bring him back. I don't mind one there like that. That sort of makes sense. So they must sort of sway a little and then stand up as they mature. I don't know. Still seems a long way out, but we'll leave him for a second. So we need that petal there to be defined. We need this petal here. Then we've got the hint of other petals there. So once again, this petal defined, a hint of that guy, and then there's a few in the background. Let's get that stem feeling like it's part of it. The stems aren't thick either, so I can't get too heavy-handed with them. That's not bad. So these little guys have come out first, and then we've got these buds still. I'm really digging these buds. They're easy to draw. And then this, are we happy with the bulb? But I haven't got its roots showing. Maybe I can just sketch in a few little roots now. I feel like I'm a little bit cramped up down here. But there's little dots on him. I think that's to show that it's different. Little dots in there. I don't know if I'll need to add them, but all right, so now we need some little curly leaves also coming out. Little narrow ones. Look, I don't mind it actually. I think we may have pulled it off. So we've got a branch coming through here, that a stem, sorry, that is not needed. That cleaned it up a little bit. So maybe I can bring leaf through there just to balance that up a little bit. Yeah, I don't mind that. Do I bring another leaf? Do I bring another one from behind? It's tricky when you start layering in like this. So that's going through there to pop out there. I do think he's too long, but I will say for my tablecloth scenario, I'm always trying to get to that edge here. So I'm okay with that. If I was to iron it out and raise the bulb, I'd run out of space here. Like that flower, say the bulb came to be more of a feature here, we'd have no room, and I want a bit of air here. So unfortunately it means the bulb has to be nestled right down on that bottom corner, which I'm okay with. It's not the best scenario when you're trying to make something fit something in particular. Can be, you know, quite a challenge to get it to work in your limited space is what I guess I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm happy with that. If I was to remove that bulb, gosh, when I'm sketching and drawing, I cannot get my words straight. So you just have to go, that's not the bulb, that's the bud. That's not the leaf, that's the stem. That's not the stem, then there are no branches. That's what I'm sure you guys are all... I need to take a sip of coffee. I'm sure that's what you guys are all saying. But that's all good. When the brain is being creative, it doesn't mean I'm factually correct. That's probably why you notice my stories come when I've settled into the project and I feel like I don't need to think anymore. I still think that's too big. I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm only having him because I want things to go out here, but I don't have to have that. And I think if I get rid of that stem, it'll be a bit cleaner in the centre here. Let's get this leaf here drawn in. And this leaf then can come up in its own space, making its point to there. Yeah, that's better. I feel like I've got that leaf's really wonky. Should be getting finer and then thicker through here. Yep. Those ones can tuck in behind there. Those ones can tuck in there. We've got a leaf coming out here. A little leaf over here. Then there's these little brown ones coming off. So I'm just going back now and getting in the more details. So when I come through with my black pen, which is the next step, I don't jigger it up. This guy is coming through there, nice and clean line. That guy's in there, that guy's in there. Okay, Are we ready to pick up the pen? Yeah, I think so. Right. I usually go the number 3, I think, don't I? Yeah, I think so. Number 4 would do it as well. Let's get this drawn first. I feel like that's my anchoring point. So there's these little brown little rough leaves coming off of it down here, like an onion shell is what I'm trying to say. We'll do little lines. Oh, the nose. Why has suddenly my nose been set off? A little, looks like an onion, doesn't it, with its little roots. Okay, I might do those little dots. Don't know if it's worth it, but it does show that there's different. There's a funny little leaf there and another one. So this is the bulb sorted. I like to do more bulbs, as in drawing, because I think they're quite interesting. Maybe, oh well, I'm filming this a little bit in advance, so the Roxy Journal of Stitchery is well and truly underway. So maybe I'm speaking ahead of my thoughts here and I'm already drawing bulbs. Quite possible. Okay, so what I might do is need to decide which stem am I going to see first. I think it's this guy. So I need to bring that line out first. Oh, the nose. I should go and blow my nose, guys. Pause the video. Let's just get this guy in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to just pause the video for a second, jump up and deal with my nostrils. Okay, I'm back. And as I sat back down, I realised that you couldn't quite see the bottom of this little bulb, so I do apologise. So where were we? We get this petal. There we go. And a little line. This petal. And a little line. I have to go good think about what colour I do these, guys. Childhood memory is white. But when I Googled the image and saw that they were also purple, my instinct was to go purple. But then when I picked up this piece just a few moments ago to sit and draw, I noticed that my fuchsia is there, which is very pink and purple. So I just don't know. It's all right, we've got time. Now this little leaf here, I think, is the next one. And that'll just disappear in the back there. I won't try and find its way down to the bulb. Might do this guy next. It's just such a softer touch because my weave on my tablecloth is so loose. The nib of the point of this pen catches in it. So it's just finding that right little stroke. There we go. That's it. Down you come. Okay, so they're into position. I'll bring that leaf right down and then take the stem of the next flower from behind it. Hopefully when I iron out all my lines from the heat soluble pen, it won't be a mess in there. There we go. There's the little heart. Makes it easy when you break it down into shapes, doesn't it? Gives me something to talk through in my mind as I draw. And the 2 back petals. This is a beaut little flower. And then the 3 little stamens. There was some red ones, wasn't there, from memory? Put the pen down and maybe I just draw thin little lines. There's those extra. So just keep it real thin, little red or orange. I bet the pollen is on those. Don't know. I love how you guys all go off and research the flower and then when I've struggled with names of things, you come back and say, righto girl, it's this, this, this and this. It's brilliant. Like, how clever. So many names for so many little bits of a flower. There was one, this one here. My goodness, I can't even remember what they all were now, but every part of that fuchsia was just about a different name. It was amazing. I'm guessing the botanist that found it had a bit of time on his hand and thought, gee, there's a lot here. I'm going to apply a name to everything. It's my theory anyway. There we go. Oh, this is so much fun, guys. If you haven't had a go at drawing something like a flower, let's start with flowers. Animals are a nightmare. I'm just going to say it. Not a fan of animals. Basic birds, yeah. It's the eye, it's the, humans are even worse. You don't want to even go there. Flowers are great because they're usually simple forms. So if you haven't tried grabbing just a random piece of fabric, sketching on a flower, have a really good look at a flower and then follow the lead of a how to draw and you will love it. Sketch it in first with your heat pen and then come back through, get some black lines in there. That makes it a permanent outline and then go and stitch it. Right, we're nearly there. These 2 to go. Yep, let's get this leaf that tucks in behind this leaf. So the colour of these little guys, I need to have a think about it. I was purple all the way. Now I'm sort of pulled back towards the white. I really enjoyed the lily and the white So I'm tempted to revisit that again. And I think then he would hold his own here. I could do yellow, but I sort of feel like it's more orange, isn't it? I guess the tulips are a good, you can see how colour performs there, like the yellow would be cool. Anyway, it's a decision for another day, guys. Let's just get our little crocus in position. Oh, I will be doing you again. I need to explore the bulb more. I feel like I've got hemmed into the corner a little bit, but it is all about the flowers, but I feel like I could do more with this. Imagine that all with fabric, like different brown. For those of you that are applying fabric to your piece, there's a heap of you that are going that one step further and putting in morsels of fabric. Imagine this all brown with lace and, ooh, you'll be seeing the crocus come up. Okay, I think we're there. Let's apply the iron, get rid of all our sketch lines and see what we've forgotten. Look, I've got a couple stains on the old girl. Couple more little. Yeah. So we've got everything. We've got that, that. That stem makes sense. There's one there to balance it. Yep. There we go. Just following my eye. That's a little bit chunky there, but that's okay. It was getting tricky, wasn't it? That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. I can work with that. Give it a good iron. Oh, I love the fuchsias. Love how they turned out. Oh my goodness. What am I going to do when this project's over? I'm going to have to do another one similar. Maybe I'm getting my fill from the Roxy one. Don't know. Okay. All right, guys. That's it. Oh, I know. How are we going for time? Let's maybe stamp. We've got plenty of time. Let's stamp the word crocus. Let's get the book over here so I spell it right. Surely I can't muck that one up. What do I need? I need ink. Where's the ink? Ink's just in front of me. Hold that thought, guys. And I need something soft and mushy to press into. And also something to protect my surface. We need a little morsel of calico, which I thought I grabbed as I came to the table. Yes, I did. Oh, probably shouldn't have applied heat to that. Didn't even think of that. Just reactivated all that glue. Lovely. Let's iron it again here. Oh my goodness. Oh, the funniest video. I still think about all the time. She won't think it was funny because Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios was doing something and the pen, her glue pen, God, I think it's probably 12 months ago now, the pen went missing. She's busy gluing, stitching, talking, you know, yabbering. The pen went missing and it sort of rolled off to the side and she had her iron on. So the pen is glued to the iron. The video stops for a second. Then she comes back and she's got this melted lid to her glue stick. Can't remember what the iron looked like, but oh, comedy gold. Comedy gold. There's tulip. There's no letters there except for the U. We could pinch him. So yeah, it's really funny when you're watching YouTube and you see it go all pear-shaped, or you know those ones where the reporters are reporting from somewhere and then something goes wrong, like an animal jumps on them or a huge wave comes and knocks them. It's not funny, but it is funny. It's blooming hilarious, to be honest. Well, Susanna gave me a giggle that day. She still giggles about it too. Anything there that's remotely us? No, they're all weird little letters, those. We don't want them. Here we go. A C. An R. Look at the size of that O. That has to be a digit. Another C. We could do with a little O. There she is. And a little S. There's Frasier still there. I've got this dream to tell you about. Happened a little while ago, but it's still in my mind. I don't recall a lot of dreams. Doesn't happen very often. But I did this one. Why won't that connect? So pull up a seat. This might be a while. I can fiddle around with this while I'm chatting to you. So I've woken up. No, I haven't woken up. Sorry, that's the end of the story. It was in the wee hours of the morning, like daylight. I think I had actually woken and then drifted back off to sleep, and that's when the dream happened. And I think that's why I remember it, because I sort of felt like I was half awake. So I was back at the house in Brisbane, and next to us was a large block of land, but it went sideways where ours was rectangular. It went the other way. So if that's our block, their block went along and then that way. Does that make sense? It went back to meet ours and then along. And it was like 10 acres where ours was 2 acre and a half, something like that. Now, there was a, all right, we're going to draw it now. Oh my goodness, where's my crocus picture? So we're going off plan here. You've got to get the whole image here. So we got our block of land, like so. Then the neighbour's block is like that, but it extends past. So this was an old farm. And then there's a block there and a block there heading out of the street. Then there's a chap here that has that block, and then it starts again as you come around the street. Now there's actually a house here, about there. And then our house was here. So it's all bush at the back here. Now, the relevance of this is because that location there is important in a moment. And my vehicle was parked here for some reason in the dream, and this house didn't exist because when we built, this was still all bush. And the owner of this whole little farmlet has hung on to this block. And between him and his daughters, they've built an investment property here and made it into rental for now until the daughter moves back to Brisbane, is the story I heard. But anyway, that house doesn't exist. This is all peripheral information. So in my dream, I'll stick to the details here. I was standing at this car of mine at the front passenger wheel outside, and I thought, there's something I've forgotten. So I walked back up the street to the house to get something. Don't know what that was. Into the street comes this, we call them hard tops. They're old Holdens and old Fords, very rounded, often 2-door, big muscle cars of the 70s. All right, so we'd been looking at an auction where all these done up beautiful cars were all going up for auction 2 nights before my dream. And there was one of those old cars there, and my husband's obviously said, gee, that's beautiful, I love that. And I said, oh, they're just not my thing. They're big, bulky looking tanks. So that was the conversation to do with the car. So as I'm in my dream walking back to the house, this car comes in. It was canary yellow. And there were two men in it. One had a face that I just cannot remember. The other guy was very distinctive. And I think he was an actor from a series we were watching at the time. He had red short cropped hair and a slight red manicured beard. But he was a big man, big buffy head. He drives in with his passenger, who I didn't notice. And as I'm walking back up the footpath, this car comes in, does a slow turn and leaves. A few seconds later, I'm back at the car again, having got what I wanted. The boys have come in again to the street. This time, thinking there's no one around because they wouldn't have seen me standing at my vehicle. They behaved themselves when I was on the footpath, but now I'm tucked down the block a little bit, and this is a slope, a gentle slope coming down to where my car is. They've got to here and thought, right, let's light it up. Let's drop a donut, burn out. I don't know what was in their pea brains. But anyway, they've come around this corner to exit at high speed, but they've lost control here, and the car is now sliding backwards towards me. This is going to get gruesome, guys, so you need to pause the video. Actually, just say goodbye. Say goodbye, everyone. Anyone who has a trigger to a car accident, please move on now, because I'll try and keep it, not too gruesome. It wasn't gruesome, but what happened next is odd, if I do say so. So goodbye, everyone. The rest of you that are still here, who are interested in this crazy dream of mine, this car now is floating in slow motion across the grass backwards towards me. So picture yourself leaning on the front wheel of your vehicle, on the bonnet, and you're looking straight up in front of you, and here comes a car in reverse slowly towards you. And as in slowly, this is dreams, I guess. I slowed it down to where I had numerous thoughts, and that's the bits that's interesting, because my thought was, oh gee, here comes a car. This is not good. I better get out of the way. I have time to get out of the way. I really should jump to the left, because if I jump to the right, I'll land on the bonnet. Now I've got no room and I'll still probably get hurt, so I better jump to... This is all going through my head at slow motion, but at the speed of which I'm thinking it. Anyway, then I go, oh, here comes that car. I better get out of the way. My goodness, I still haven't jumped to the left, because if I jump to the right, I'll hit the bonnet. It just went round and round and round for I don't know how long. Maybe that was 20 minutes in my dream, but in my head it was a split second. Anyway, I get to the point, well, it's too late to jump to the left now, because here comes that car. It's very, very close. It's going to hit you now, girl, because you didn't jump to the left. You should have jumped. You don't go to the right, you won't get away. You should go to the left. See what I mean? It was just like this little loop. Anyway, next minute, the car's within 50 centimetres of me, so a couple foot. Yep, you're done. That's it. The car's here. You should have jumped. Why didn't you jump? This is all going through my head. Next minute, goes black. Black, pitch black. And I'm thinking, wow, so I'm dead. It's black. Wonder what happens next. And then my mum come into my mind, who's passed 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I said, hi, Mum. Looks like I'll see you soon. Boy, it's black. Oh, gosh. And then I turn around and I look from this position, and it becomes light again, down to the back of the block. And there's this tree. The significance of the tree I'll tell you in a moment. But in the air, flying through the air like the flying nun, was me. And I'm still at the car looking at this. I had denim jeans on, a denim chambray shirt, and I'm flying through the air. It was so peaceful. It was floaty. I'm like, oh, look at me go. Wow, look at that. I'm flying through the air. That car must have hit me, and look at me go. That's what I'm talking through in the dream. Then I'm like, wow, they're not going to find me. That is all bush down there. How's Gaz going to find me? Gee, I hope there's some evidence left at the car to show that I was even there, and not just a dint in the car, and no one knows that I was even there. And then this gets gruesome. I hope there's a smear of blood to tell them that there was a human here. Otherwise, they're going to see the car with a dint. This car, no doubt, is going to leave because, gee, the boys are going to bolt. They're not going to hang around. No one's going to find me down the back. That's no good. So the next part of the dream is I go down to that tree. Now, the tree is a little bit significant because it actually exists in real life. This was a farm, as I said, and the original farmhouse was at the back of our property, sort of to the acreage end of it. And the old boy and old girl used to drive into their farm from this way because the boundary of their farm was this huge rectangle and the main road's out here. So they would do a U-turn around some gardens and trees and probably park and the homestead and then leave. Well, I think that the old girl's garden extended up here because of this tree. So we got a random melaleuca tree. At the base of it is what I call asparagus fern. Now, it's a noxious pest that I fought to get rid of because there was a lot of it on my block. So I used to snip it, paint Roundup on it, and it'd kill it. And it has this little nodule that sends out a stem, another nodule sends out a stem. So it's now been declared a noxious weed in Australia, but it was huge in the 70s. Everyone had it in pots on ferneries, and it was just this plant that was popular. Now it's blooming everywhere. So there's this asparagus fern clump, and I've always wanted to go across and kill it, but I never did because it's not my land and you can get in big trouble for doing that. And then near this random tree is mother of tongue, another plant that's been listed as noxious. It's a very strappy, cactusy looking plant. Google those names, asparagus fern and mother of tongue. And then near it, so this is Australian bush, gum trees, melaleucas, acacias, all of those beautiful plants. And then randomly is this palm. I think it's a CROCUS. It's really sad looking, but it is there, and it's just so out of place, this little cluster. So I've always thought that this lady's garden extended probably to where that weird little clump is. The rest is overgrown and a mess. Well, I landed after this incident, I landed near it, and I was so relieved because I thought, well, that's somewhere that if people were looking for me would walk to because it's a bit odd of a spot. And then on my way, as I went to it in my dream, there were two black thongs, which is what I wear around the house. There's these two little black rubber thongs. They were on the way, and I felt so much relief. I thought, well, they'll certainly see the thongs. They're not far from the incident. Then they'll look a little bit up into the horizon, another 50 metres, and surely they'll see me lying there and I will be found and everything will be okay. Isn't that the most bizarrest dream? I've pulled all these elements from what's happening and linked it all together into this crazy story. So, yeah, there's my story for the day. I don't know what it means. I don't think I really want to know what it means, to be honest. Who cares what it means? It's just a random mush. How come I got N's and H's there? Yeah. I need an R. Did I not grab an R? Yeah, there we go. So I don't usually pay too much attention to dreams, and I very rarely remember them. But gosh, it was so real because I think I had woken, dozed off, then I woke directly afterwards. And when I woke the second time, Gaz was awake, and I immediately recanted the story to him, and that's helped me remember it, because if I don't do that, no, it's gone. And it's still with me. I keep thinking about it, how vivid it was more than what it was. Yeah. There's a lady in Australia that unfortunately has been murdered, and they haven't yet found her. Well, they may by the time you guys watch this video, but they've been searching for her for a little while. And probably that has stuck with me a little bit, that she's just not been found, and her poor husband is searching for her still. They've called off all the searching, but they get the odd new lead. They found a phone near a dam, so they probably are searching more than I know, because we only get the news, you know, as they want us to know what's going on. So there's probably more happening behind the scenes. So this poor lady, I hope they find her. That's obviously stuck with me. The car, well, that makes sense because we looked and discussed that ugly yellow, and it was yellow. I actually went to the website because it's since sold. I went to the website and found the car and said, that's the car, Gaz. That's the car that was in my dreams. And it was the one we'd spoken about, this ugly car. The actor, we're watching a series, we had watched a series where this chap with red hair was in it. So that's that connection. My car was the exact car I've actually got, so that made sense. My thongs, they were so vivid. So vivid. What else was detailed? That tree, the tree with those plants, maybe because I'm doing so much work with plants and I love plants, so I'm always pretty interested in how things randomly turn up in the bush, especially if you come across an old home site. There's one behind our property here at Burrum that I can see the posts for an old tank, and a little bit off from it is like an old yard has been there where cattle have probably, I'm in the national park at this stage where I'm talking about, but I would say back in the day, before it was a national park, it was an old farm, hence the tank and the farm, the posts where it sort of makes sense that there would be cattle yards. All right, names on. How are we going for time? If I still got time, I might stitch it. Yeah, got a little bit. I might just stitch this on while we finish Yibby Yabbery. So there you go. There's my dream / story. Gosh, I wish all dreams were as vivid as that. Wouldn't I have some stories for you guys? Wonder what it all meant. Well, it won't be impending doom because we aren't down there in Brisbane anymore, so I'm not going to be carking it in the paddock next door. All right, let's get this little guy stitched. I hope I haven't given anyone some bad memories of a bad accident. I do apologise. I've been fortunate enough not to be involved in a serious accident. I have bumped someone up the bottom. It was a carload of rat bags. It was a rainy night and they've hit the anchors. It was, dark, and I've aquaplaned straight into them at a very low speed and just bump. And the boot of their vehicle popped open. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've done it now. I was only new to driving. I was driving a Crusader. It was like a bit of a tank. And so I've slowly floated into their bottom and bump. And I remember the three little faces in the back seat. They were like teenagers all looking at me. Anyway, it was raining and I motioned to them like pull over, and they did a U-turn. So I followed thinking that we'd be safer on the other side too. It seemed a logical thing. We all did this U-turn. And I followed, and their boot is up. Next minute, they took off. They just left. And I'm thinking, what are they, racing to the servo up the road to chat and exchange numbers? But no, they took off. So I slowly poodled along because it was pouring rain and I didn't want to have another accident. And I'm thinking, well, where are they? I got to the servo, drove in there, service station, gas station, fuel station, everyone in another country, servo in Australia, and there was no one there, so I pooted along a little bit further. I'm thinking, well, they're gone. And I was actually on my way to visit Gaz, who was working at a service station straight ahead, and by this time I'd U-turned. So did another U-ey, headed down to the Shell service station where my husband worked. He was doing the night shifts. This is right when we were first married. I was doing day shifts and he was doing night shifts. And I pulled into the driveway and I said, oh, I've been in an accident and the Cressida has bumped into the bottom of another vehicle. The boot popped open. There were a heap of faces in the back seat. They all looked at me in sheer shock. And then they did a U-turn, I did a U-turn, but I can't find them. They're gone. So he's like, well, if they're gone, that means they're up to no good. And they did not want to chat. Have I even spelt that right? Yes. They obviously didn't want to chat to me about what had just happened. So consider yourself lucky, girl. And there was no damage to my car because she was a bit of an old tank. But we did notice in the next month the radiator water was not holding. And we realised there was a little crack in one of the connection points to the hose to the radiator, something like that. So I had a very slow little leak. So I did end up having damage, but so luckily that's my only accident. I have had one other scenario where I pulled out of a side street. I was fairly new to driving and I had a Commodore. It was an ex-police Commodore. We were buying and selling the odd car when we were first married to make a few extra shekels. And we'd go to an auction and pick up a car, bring it home, clean it, and then fix anything that needed fixing. So I was polishing seats and dashes to make them look schmick. And this one particular car was an ex-police car. And I knew because every time I'd hit the brakes, out from underneath the seats would be this little white little white plastic tube, and they were the tubes that the police put on the breathalyzer. When you pulled over, there's a little box. This tube goes on, and that's what you put your mouth on to blow in to see if you've been driving. Those tubes were everywhere in that car. So every time you'd hit the brakes, these tubes would come from goodness knows where. You think you found them all, and suddenly there's another tube in the back. So that's how we knew it was a police car. Anyway, I was going to work. It was a foggy morning, so the road was a bit wet. The sun was in my eyes a little bit, and I come out of our street to turn onto the highway to go to work, and there was a bus coming, plenty of distance. So out I come, nice and easy, turned the wheels so that they were straight, but they weren't straight enough. So then I've accelerated, which wasn't much because I just didn't have a feeling for the engine, and it was a V8 and it really went. And my wheels must have been still a little bit turned. They weren't straight. Anyway, my back end of the vehicle has swung out. It's swung again. I've corrected, swung out again. So I've done this little waltz. Not bad, just a bit. Scared the bejeebers out of me. I'm hanging onto the steering wheel like a white-knuckled, oh my gosh. But we're straight, we're good. By then, the bus was coming along and nice and close to me, and he just shook his finger and his head at me. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, mate, that wasn't deliberate. I've scared the bejeebers out of myself. And he gave me that condescending, you silly young girl, you know. It would have looked quite impressive, I would guess, as I was like swinging my bum. I think I swung twice and then got it straight because I wasn't going fast. But I just lost traction. But anyway, okay. I think that's it. I've got my crocus. I talk to you guys all day. I need to go and do something constructive. All right, I'll say goodbye. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye, guys.